Florida has proclaimed that November 7th is Victims of Communism Day to remember those who have suffered and died at the hands of communist regimes in the past and to stand with those who are fighting for freedom today. So let's get started. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Virtual History 360. I'm Mr. Wade, and today we are talking about Victims of Communism Day. We will embark on a solemn journey through history, delving into the depths of an ideology that promised equality, but delivered suffering and loss on an unimaginable scale. Our focus is on the victims of communism, those whose lives were forever altered by this system. Communism, an ideology born in the mid-19th century, emerged with the vision of a classless society where wealth and resources were shared equally among all. Yet, this noble goal often led to grim outcomes, marked by repression, violence, and deprivation. The allure of equality masked the inherent dangers of a system that concentrated power in the hands of a few, unleashing a cycle of brutality that we must now confront. Our exploration of communism begins in the mid-19th century, a time of great change and upheaval. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, a German philosopher and economist, in 1848 penned the Communist Manifesto, a pivotal work that introduced communism and ignited a transformative chain of events. It presented a vision of a classless society where collective ownership of the means of production and wealth sharing would replace class distinctions. This was in response to the stark inequalities and suffering of the working class during the Industrial Revolution. While the manifesto did not trigger immediate revolutions, it laid the theoretical foundation for future movements. Its call for global worker solidarity inspired laborers to demand better conditions. The manifesto promised liberation, but also acknowledged that achieving communism might require violence and civil war. This tension between freedom and revolution would shape the history of communism. Our journey explores how these ideological origins, noble in their aspirations but marred by violence, repression, and paradoxes, played out in the lives of nations and individuals, ultimately leading to the emergence of communism's victims. As communism spread, charismatic leaders emerged on the world stage. From Vladimir Lenin in Russia to Mao Zedong in China, these leaders embraced the communist ideology, promising a brighter future. Yet, their rule often brought darkness and despair. Lenin's Bolshevik Revolution paved the way for a totalitarian regime that would claim the lives of millions. Joseph Stalin's reign saw mass executions, forced labor camps, and a devastating famine that would haunt generations. The pursuit of utopia led to a dystopian reality. In 1917, the Russian Revolution, led by Vladimir Lenin, gave birth to the Soviet Union, a communist superpower. Under Lenin and later Joseph Stalin, millions suffered as the state exerted control over every aspect of life. Stalin's reign saw mass executions, forced labor camps, and a devastating famine that claimed the lives of countless innocent citizens. The promise of a workers' paradise turned into a nightmare of repression and violence. In 1949, Mao Zedong established the People's Republic of China, promising a better life for the people. However, his rule unleashed waves of violence, from the land reform movement to the disastrous Great Leap Forward. The Cultural Revolution brought more brutality as millions were persecuted or killed. Mao's vision of a communist utopia proved to be a dystopian nightmare, where dissent was crushed and lives were sacrificed in the name of the state. The division of Korea into North and South after World War II set the stage for a brutal conflict. Kim Il-sung's North Korea invaded the South in 1950, sparking the Korean War. Millions perished in this devastating struggle, and North Korea remains a totalitarian regime to this day. The Korean Peninsula became a symbol of the enduring human cost of communism, where families were torn apart and lives were forever scarred. Ho Chi Minh's communist movement in Vietnam led to the Vietnam War, a conflict that claimed countless lives. Even after the war ended in 1975, the communist regime continued to suppress dissent, imprisoning and persecuting its citizens. The promise of liberation from colonial rule gave way to a new form of oppression, where individual freedoms were sacrificed in the name of the state. Under the rule of Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, Cambodia experienced one of the darkest chapters in human history. The Cambodian genocide from 1975 to 1979 resulted in the deaths of nearly a quarter of the population through executions, forced labor, and famine. Pol Pot's vision of an agrarian communist utopia turned Cambodia into a killing field where the very essence of humanity was extinguished. Fidel Castro's revolutionary spirit captured the world's attention. However, his rule in Cuba led to the suppression of freedoms, mass executions, and harsh labor camps. The Cuban people continue to live under communist control to this day. The Cuban Revolution serves as a stark reminder that the allure of communism often conceals a harsh reality, where individual liberties are sacrificed for the sake of the state. As we reflect on the victims of communism, we must acknowledge the profound human suffering it has caused. It is estimated that more than 100 million lives have been lost due to this ideology since its inception. Families torn apart, lives shattered, and the dreams of countless individuals extinguished. The legacy of communism is one of pain and loss, a stark reminder of the dangers of totalitarianism in the pursuit of an idealized society. The legacy of communism is not confined to the past. Today, over 1.5 billion people live under repressive communist governments in countries like China, Cuba, Laos, Vietnam, and North Korea. These regimes employ the same tools of repression, violence, and deprivation that we've witnessed throughout history. The victims of communism are not relics of the past. They are a stark warning of the dangers that persist in the present day. In closing, let us remember the victims of communism, those who endured unimaginable hardships in the name of an ideology that fell far short of its noble promises. As we reflect on this dark chapter in history, may we honor their memory and strive to ensure that such suffering is never repeated. The victims of communism serve as a solemn reminder of the cost of ideology run amok, and their stories compel us to safeguard the principles of freedom and human dignity. That was deep, but hopefully thought-provoking. Tell me what you think about this video in the comments below. Let's have a civil discussion about the effects of the regimes mentioned in this video. Keep it respectful and leave your comments below. Now, while you're there, check out my spring store where you can find history shirts like the one you see I'm wearing today, and be sure to use code STUDENT for 10% off your order. And if you found this video helpful, click that like button for me, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And you should also check out the other videos on my channel. To the side here, you see a link to a video about the Ocoee Election Day Massacre of 1920, which is another day commemorated by the state of Florida. Okay? So, for Virtual History 360, I'm Mr. Wade. I'll see you next time.